Hello. So today I want to talk about the Ocean's 8 movie, actually the screenplay. So something made me think of this screenplay. I think it was because I was reading recently about actress Sandra Bullock. And she talked about how she started seeking out projects and would do a gender flip to make the lead character be female so she can star in the leading role. Because I guess the projects that she was more interested in happened to always be assumed by men, by male actors. And so it sounds like she also produced those projects as well. And then because she is the producer, she's able to, make those kind of changes. And it sounds like in Hollywood, I guess you do want to be the producer and you will have that authority to make those kind of decisions. So, but anyway, Sandra Bullock, she has always been one of those actresses I admire because of her business savvy, and she's accomplished and smart, and yeah, she's just one of those that I admire. But when I was reading about her, she's just in learning how she chooses her projects, I remembered the Ocean's 8 movie, even though it didn't get much attention, I would say. I don't know how it did. I don't remember whether it was a success or not. I know I saw it. I didn't see it in the theaters, but I did see it. And, I loved and enjoyed the film, but I feel like it's one of those forgotten ones, but it is part of the Ocean's franchise. So anyway, I wanted to take a look at that screenplay just to see how it was affected by Sandra Bullock being one of the stars and producers of that film. I'm going to have to double check and find out if she was in fact a producer. I think she was, but I might be misspeaking there. So I'm going to check on that. Just double check that. But in looking at that, I am also in the middle of reading The Authority Gap by Mary Ann Sieghart. And I came across this through my library. I must say, I am so thankful for my public library because I just go in there with no intentions whatsoever. I just go in there and I look. And I always come out with something, So this book is about the innate views that we are taught in society about girls and women. And Sieghart, she goes over how those views and assumptions that we have about girls and women and that we make, how they affect girls and women in the academic, professional, and personal lives. And this book is quite interesting because she has interviews with different public figures, or some are in politics, some are in academics. She talks with, I think her name is Bernadine Evaristo, and she's a writer and professor, a Black woman writer and professor. She talks with a number of politicians, female politicians, and just hearing their stories about the differences in how they are approached by people versus how a man in that role would be approached by people, how they are interrupted, versus how people respond if a man is talking. She talks about the kind of voice you want to have as a woman when you are in a leadership role, because your tone matters, your cadence matters. All of that stuff matters so much more when you are a woman versus a man. And it's a fascinating read. And one of the things she talked about in this book is she calls it manspreading. And so she was talking about, I forgot the term she used, status incongruence, I think is how she said it. And that's basically when you are someone in an authority position, but you don't have the confidence or the security that should come with that status. And so she talked, Mary Ann Sieghart, she talks about how men are just kind of, they have this innate confidence that they don't realize they have, but it just comes with the gender, basically. Because it from her research, it sounds like, and just from observation, it's just assumed that the man will be the leader, or he will go on to be prominent. Whereas with a woman, it's not necessarily assumed. You really got to go in fighting to prove that that's what you are capable of. And so she was talking about manspreading, which is basically where men in a meeting or, a similar setting, they take up a dominant space and over talk, or they just don't allow room for other opinions and voices to be heard. And she's talking about how they may be conscious or subconscious of this behavior, but women just would never do that because they're so worried about being unlikable. And unfortunately, when you're a woman, that matters. It's okay for a man in an authority position to be unliked, but for a woman, it's hard to get things done if you are perceived as unlikable, basically. And so when she was talking about the manspreading and stuff like that, it made me wonder, it made me curious about what a script looks like when a woman is starring in it and also producing it, because I know the producer usually has from what I hear of what actors have to say in interviews and stuff like that, it sounds like you want to be the producer. Either the producer or director, but basically they have a lot of control. And so I wanted to look at the Ocean's 8 script to see what that looked like, to see if it made any difference. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. But I wanted to read something that I found interesting. She says here, a woman can tell within just a few minutes of meeting a man whether he is genuinely treating her as an equal or is patronizing her and stops listening as soon as she opens her mouth to plan what he is going to say next about himself. And the reason why I wanted to read that is because I'm curious to see how the lines come across for the female characters in that script, because this script it's a female dominated cast, right? So I'm curious to see, because Hollywood it is male centered. I mean, that's quite evident. So with this being a female-led cast, I became curious because, again, it's Sandra Bullock, but also, you got, I forgot how many, it's like 6 or so leading ladies in this film, and I'm just like, what? But also, on a side note, and speaking of the authority gap, in the wake of the Me Too movement, the Time's Up, and equal pay, and all of those movements that have been happening in the past few years, one of the things I just like to see more of is for more attention to be given to the good men who stand up for women and who show support of equal pay for women. And I don't know how I came across this, but I did. And actor Bradley Cooper, he said that he negotiated with his female co-stars for, what was the name of the movie? American Hustle. He negotiated with Amy Adams and Jennifer Lawrence for, I don't know if they were equal salaries, but they were in the room together to negotiate salaries so that the transaction was more transparent and the women could see, what is he getting versus what I'm getting, because obviously we found out in later years that women are making a sharpingly less salary in the same films with their male co-stars, So just to see him step up and show that support and not be concerned with any backlash, or, how, I mean, it sounds like Hollywood, you don't want to mess up because they will cut you off. But he did that, and I just want to say kudos to him for doing that. And it would be nice to hear about other leading men doing the same thing. But anywho, I digress. So anyway, I'm going to take a look at this screenplay. This is my first time reading it. I'm not going to go over the whole screenplay because it's over 100 pages, but I mainly want to focus on the opening and then the closing scenes. So yeah, I'm going to take you along, okay? I do want to mention that there has been some recent news of an Ocean's prequel in development, and it is starring actress Margot Robbie, who will also be producing it. And I think I read that they are set to shoot the film in 2023. And it sounds like it's going to be a period piece because they're going to go back to 1960s England, I think. Let me just double check. It says is set in Europe in the 1960s. So somewhere in Europe. That could be anywhere. But yeah, so that is on the way. And I think, yes, it did say director Jay Roach will be directing the prequel. And that's about all I saw on news about the prequel. That was on HollywoodReporter.com. So be on the lookout for that if you are a fan like me, But anyway, let's get back to this screenplay. Okay. Opening scene, it starts with Sandra Bullock's character. Now, I see here, okay, it says, all right, that's her name, Debbie Ocean. We'll refer to her as Debbie Ocean. And she's 40 something. So she is leaving prison. And I forgot Matt Damon was in this movie. But okay. So they're describing her leaving prison. So there's a moment where it says Debbie jerks the wheel. And I don't know, that sounds like she is someone who is not only confident in her decisions, but she's also someone who probably is used to being a leader. But so this opening scene is just her and I'm guessing that's Linus, how we're pronouncing this. Now, just to give you the premise of the movie, I'm sorry, I didn't even do that. But the premise, you have Debbie Ocean, who concocted this scheme to do a heist at the Met Gala. She was concocting this scheme in prison while she was doing time. And then when she got out, she linked up with her usual criminal associates. And she presented them with this heist idea, which is to steal a necklace that's, I believe it's somewhere around $150 million. It's a Cartier necklace. And they're going to steal the necklace when this actress who is known for having a long neck, she's going to be wearing the necklace at the Met Gala event. And that's where they're going to plan to steal it. And so, looking at this screenplay, I don't know, I don't read screenplays that much, and I guess that's why it's looking different to me. Like it's kind of flat as far as me gauging who Debbie is. But I'm not saying it's flat because of the writing. I think it's just the style of screenplays. So yeah, there's not much here that I can gauge about her character. I will say this screenplay does depict Debbie as a very sharp woman. She makes decisions and her reflexes are instant. You know, she picks up on her surroundings and who she needs to be keeping an eye on, and you know, she knows what she's going after. She knows her target and she has an objective. So the screenplay writes her as a competent thief, I will say. I like how in the screenplay it reminds you that she has been in jail or prison for 4 years, because I know in the movie it's quite evident and easy to remember that she was in prison. But, you know, like I said, when you're reading a screenplay, it's a little bit more flat just because you don't have that visual, or at least for me, because I'm a visual person. So it comes across kind of flat sometimes. But they do give you that reminder that she was in prison for 4 years. So we're meeting other characters. I do notice that they are mentioning women who are middle-aged, which I am a little surprised by, because they as in Hollywood, it does seem youth obsessed. So to see characters be in their 30s and 40s, that is a delight. Okay, I'm just going to quickly say the flirting, I'm going to give that credit to a woman. I don't know, but it's not as salacious and explicit the way I've seen some other. Well, I can't say scripts, but what I see on film, the flirting tends to be overt, and in here it's not subtle, but it's not overt, and I like that. Okay, they did it. I started to say they didn't have the women crying, but they did. Okay, we will forgive that. But so it ends with Kate and Debbie on a subway train, or yes. And they are sitting in silence. And then Kate says, okay then. I must say, if you are a screenwriter, this is a pretty good screenplay to read for pointers on, the visual words you want to use. Because, I know I used the word flat, but I'm just saying in general, screenplays, they are flat. You're not, they don't have emotion to them, But yeah, until you get that performance, But I can just visualize, even from reading, I can visualize everything that's happening. So this is a well-crafted screenplay, I would say. I remember watching a documentary about the actor, the late actor, what is his name? Steve McQueen. And it was talking about how insecure he was. I forgot the name of the movie, but he was in a movie with, I think it was Paul Newman, I want to say. But I'll have to look that up. But he was in a movie with one of them. I'm thinking it was Paul Newman, and Steve McQueen, he was one of the producers as well. And it sounds like, I'm calling it insecurity, but it sounds like he was insecure because of Paul Newman's talent. And so this is what one of the people on the set said, or one of the people who were a part of the film, they said Steve McQueen would count the lines to make sure that he had more lines than his co-star. Just reading this screenplay, it just made me think of that, because I started looking to see how many lines did these women get. But for it to be an all-women cast, they're a chatty bunch, they're a chatty bunch, and that's all right. And they're all given, I must say, they're all given good lines, and they each have their own point of view from what I'm seeing, and distinctive personality, I would say. So I'm wondering if that credit goes to the screenwriters, the director, or the producer. There you have it. I was just curious about what the screenplay looks like when women are at the helm. So I must say, I guess you got to have an all-star woman-led cast. I mean, but anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this screenplay with me. Hopefully you got something out of it. And if you are a writer, I would highly recommend that you get into the habit of reading screenplays, because you do learn just from reading other people's words, you know. So I attempted to write a screenplay. No, I shouldn't say attempted. I wrote one screenplay and I just found it very difficult, because you have to be very mindful of your word choice. And, you know, every word matters. Whereas with a novel, you can kind of, you got the room to play around, you know. But with a screenplay, the thing is, it can get boring real quick. And yeah, I can see someone just tossing it out. So I don't know. I feel like it requires more brain energy to write a screenplay. I don't know if it's me or if there's any truth to that, but it does feel like it requires just more of your mental capacity. I don't know. But I have not attempted a screenplay since. That was like 2018, and yeah. But this screenplay is pretty solid. I'm curious to see how it matches up against one that has like a male lead, or a male and female lead characters on the page. I'm curious to see how those come across, because I would say the dialogue in this one is pretty good, and it doesn't have that air of sexist. I don't know. Anyway, I won't finish that thought. But I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I post videos every week, usually film or book related. And yeah, I am going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.